we'll see how to undo a lot of this. The last 4 years, I mean, you've been practicing for decades. I mean, you think you've seen it all, and then this happens the last 4 years. It's like, wow, I didn't think it
Well,
gets this bad.
yeah, I mean, these 4 years were so different than the 30 something years I practiced before this.
Mhm.
And really, I don't mean to be overtly political about it. It's not Democrats versus Republicans. Um, you know, I remember in 1986 when Ronald Reagan signed a bill giving millions of people amnesty
Mhm.
in the United States, and the Republicans were really on board with that. Even if you want to go back further to the, I'll tell you something funny. I was once reading this book. We were in Costco, and I pulled this book off the shelf by Ann Coulter called Idios America. And it was all about how immigrants are ruining this country, blah, 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 blah. And she kept coming back to the 65 law, which opened up immigration to people in all countries in the world, right? Depending on their qualifications and things. And she just kept repeating this thing that it was Teddy Kennedy's ultra liberal plot to put the Democrats in power forever, right? And I thought, it's interesting that she frames it that way. But I had my computer and I looked up the actual vote on the 65 bill. Democrats in the Senate, for instance, voted for it 2-1. Republicans voted for it 4-1. So if this was really a Kennedy's ultra liberal plot, why, I don't think those Republican senators are stupid people, and they're basically immigration for most of my career has been fairly bipartisan.
Mhm.
And in some cases, the interest of immigrants and immigration attorneys align with Democrats, and sometimes they've aligned with Republicans.
Mhm.
Back in 2001, I testified in front of the Senate Immigration Subcommittee, and the Senate had just flipped, and Senator Brownback, a very conservative Republican from Kansas, was head of the committee, and anybody interested in it, I have like a little 2-minute blurb of that on my webpage,
Mhm.
but he was very, very pro-immigrant, and he especially wanted more doctors and nurses in
Yeah.
rural places like most of Kansas. After I testified, he asked me to help his staff write a bill to make it easier to get doctors and nurses to immigrate to the US. And we did that. And then the Senate flipped again. I think it was Jeffries or something, left the Republican Party, and they didn't have a majority anymore. So Kennedy then, this ultra liberal, took over the immigration subcommittee, and the bill that I had helped the Brownback people write, that just died.
Wow.
Because what you have to understand, and I'm pro-union and all of this stuff,
Yeah.
but there's always been a clash between the labor unions and immigration because they see foreign workers coming in and
Yeah.
undercutting the wages of union members. So the person I was sitting next to at that hearing was from the SEIU,
Yeah.
who represented tons of nurses. And no matter, I tried to convince her to be more pro-immigration. I said, you say there's not enough nurses and things,
Yeah.
and I'm all for more nursing schools in the United States to turn out more American nurses, but it's going to take a while to happen. So let's just make it a little easier for foreign-born nurses to immigrate to the U.S. And she would just, every time I'd say that, she'd shake her head and stuff. And that, that's a reason that some liberal Democrats are not always in favor of increased immigration, or I mean, the H-1B cap, which I think is ridiculous to have a cap on this, but it was mostly something to appease the Democrats and the labor unions. So sometimes the Republicans are friends, sometimes the Democrats are friends when it comes to more immigration. But now the current president, or he'll be the current president for another 30 days, he's just made that such a campaign issue that nothing can get passed. And I'm hoping that when a new president takes over, that the two parties can come together like they used to and pass immigration legislation.
I mean, you hit it on the head. I think when it comes to, the statute you provided about the Senate with regards to Democrats, Republicans passing the original 65 bill, I think especially with the power the union had during that era, the primary group that blocks a lot of the immigration laws is from the unions. And so Democrats being historically representative of the unions, Republicans not, they were pro, labor coming in, even if in their eyes it decreases costs.